Afternoon, everyone. Oh, that's very loud today. Good afternoon and welcome to the House Finance Committee. We have one bill before us today, which was sent down, and we're going to deal with that one bill. Because we're on a little bit of a time constraint for the patron of the bill today, here's how we're going to run the show. We're going to first have Delegate Durant present the bill. She will bring up her expert to explain the bill. I will give the committee approximately 10 minutes to ask questions at that point in time and make statements. Then we will hear from the opponents. Then we will hear 10 minutes only. And we are going to time you, so be respectful of other people who are here to present bills, please, and to ask questions. Then we will have 10 minutes for the proponents of the bill. And this does include who is on Zoom. So again, be respectful of what you have to say. Please do not repeat yourself over and over again with the same statements. And then at the end, if you haven't had a chance to speak, I will ask who's here for and who is against the bill, so we can kind of get an idea up here of who's present.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I was just going to have a request if we could have members reserve their questions until the end of all the presenters, because it's been my experience frequently when we hear from the opponents and the proponents after their presentations, they may have addressed many of the questions members might have had. So that would be my only request.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Delegate Simon.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So we're going to limit this to about 30 minutes total, 10 minutes for sort of each phase because Delegate Durant has another engagement today? Is that what we've just heard?
No, it's just because we kind of know where this issue is, and so that should be plenty of time to hear most of the testimony without a lot of repetitiveness.
Well, Madam Chair, you're the chair. I guess you'll decide how it goes. I see a lot of folks out here to testify, and so if we divide up all the people I see in the audience down to 10 minutes, it doesn't really feel like that this is a fair hearing, but it's your committee to run as you wish.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Delegate Orrock raised the question about saving all questions until after public testimony. It has been my experience, and Delegate Orrock and I share that length of experience, that questions on the bill itself, when it is presented, so that we clearly understand what the patron is presenting and what any of her background is often helpful to the public testimony to focus so that we aren't necessarily in controversy over something that could have been clarified with questioning.
And that's why I said after we heard from her expert, we would give 10 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
To the committee, okay? And then we would hear from the opponents and the proponents.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Delegate Byron.
just a reminder that we've been hearing about this proposal for the last couple of weeks. I know I have on the media. We've had the opportunity to look into the issue. Everyone is pretty senior on this committee. It's not like it's the first go around with this type of thing. So, and I would recall going to the other side and having some meetings that we had virtually no testimony on in the Senate. So I think we're going to make sure that we have a fair hearing. But if we don't have limits, we don't have any kind of order. So
Thank you, Delegate Byron. Delegate Munden King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say briefly as someone junior to the committee, this is a multi-million, billion-dollar proposal, and in a room full of, it appears, 50 to 60 people, I would really encourage the chair to hear as many people as we can. Many folks like me have taken the day from work to be here, so I just really encourage us to be fair to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for comment. Okay, so Delegate Durant, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 6001 is a bill to amend and reenact the Code of Virginia 58 relating to motor vehicle tax, rate of taxation under emergency. There has been an amendment that has been filed. And the purpose for this bill is to help cut the cost for Virginia families and fight The price of gasoline that has increased 48% in the last 12 months, ending March, according to the most recent inflation data published April 12, 2022. This uses unanticipated transportation revenues to provide Virginia's much-needed tax relief with a gas tax holiday. As most of you know, this legislation will suspend Virginia's gas tax for 3 months, May, June, and July, and phase it back slowly in August and September. Thank you for your consideration and yield for questions.
Okay, I'm going to stop right here for a second because something I always do forget is, can we please take the roll? All right, thank you. We have a quorum with 21 present. All right. Delegate Durant, do you have someone else to speak to your bill?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I have the Secretary of Transportation, Miller, here.
Thank you, Delegate Durant, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I'm really here in support of House Bill 6001, as the delegate indicated. It includes 100% reduction in the motor fuel tax for the months May 1 through July 31, a 50% reduction for the months August 1 through August, or the month August 1 through August 1 through August 31, and then a 25% reduction for the period beginning September 1 through September 30th. So come back on in full in October. The revenue impact for the 22-24 budget that I'm responsible for is about $470 million. That's about 12% reduction in the motor fuels tax over the 26-month period in question. And the total CTF collections during that same period is $14 billion. So this represents about a 3% reduction in the CTF revenues for that period. The bill also limits the future growth of the CPI to 2%, which is about a $40 million annual impact. There's also some technical language that deals with IFTA, and basically, if you have any questions that relate to that, there's three reductions in this plan. There's only 2 IFTA true-up periods in their plan, so we needed to do some averaging to back into IFTA's process. So it's not going to line up exactly, but the numbers will work out the same in terms of the impact to the Commonwealth. As I testified to the House and the Senate early in the year, we have an exceptional amount of revenue we did not expect a couple years ago in the transportation plan. Over the 6 years, it's in the billions of dollars. And obviously, the governor has made a pledge to try to get some of the revenue back to the citizens who've donated or contributed to the Commonwealth, particularly in this time of high inflation and economic trouble. And so we're here to be supportive of that bill and encourage you to send it forward favorably. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. By the way, I will also tell you, with your permission, Madam Chairman, after I finish with any questions that you have, I'm chairing a transportation board meeting as we speak. I'm just in absentia, so I don't like to do that too often, but obviously I wanted to be here with you all today. Yes,
Madam Chairman?
Delegate Fowler.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chairman. In order to get the bill in its proper form, I want to move adoption of the committee amendments.
All those in favor of adopting the committee amendments?
Madam Chair, before we vote on the amendments, a question.
Delegate Simon.
So is this last one is sort of, the first are a couple pretty obvious. I think we're adding a code section. But this last one is about the diesel fuel tax. And I just want to make sure maybe council or somebody can help me just sort of walk through what are we doing differently with diesel than we're doing with unleaded and regular gasolines, and why are we having to do that differently?
Madam Chair, I believe the amendments that we are looking at right now, the top number should be the last 4 digits, 8098. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, A.
Madam Chair, these amendments don't differentiate between diesel and regular gasoline. These oh, I see what you're talking about. I'm sorry. That has to do with the IFTA program that the Secretary was mentioning that is primarily, it's for motor carriers. They primarily use diesel. That's just some technical language to work out how we provide the credits for that program to make sure that fiscally it spreads out, because they don't do it on a month-by-month basis, which is how the phase-out in the bill of the holiday would work. So these are technical to deal with the International Motor Carriers Act.
Madam Chairman.
In terms of passengers, we're not treating diesel and gasoline differently.
Madam-
That's correct.
Madam Chair, I had a question for the patron. Is it time for questions for the patron?
I have a question on the amendment.
Is it about the amendment? We need to vote on the
If
amendment.
No,
I
it's
could please have
the
a question
underlying
on the
bill.
amendment.
Okay, Delegate Watts has a question on the amendments.
Madam Chair, either to council or to the secretary, so that what I have just heard is that the diesel will still be zero tax for 3 months and then phased back in. Is that correct? And that this is just technical language that carries out the original intent that the tax holiday would be on both regular and diesel?
Yes, ma'am, that's accurate. The timing of the way that IFTA bills and trues up their system for their motor carriers is not monthly, it's twice a year.
Follow-up
So
question.
we needed to normalize our system into theirs, and that's what this does.
Follow-up question.
Delegate Watts.
That means then for the administration of the motor carriers tax, Virginia will for 3 months have zero tax charged under this program and phased in the next 2 months.
It would be, yes, ma'am, it would track the same as if they
Zero
were paying at
tax.
the pump.
Thank you.
All right. So all in favor of the amendments, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Show of hands, please.
Ayes and nays.
All right, that means we're going to vote on the amendments on the board. No, we're not recording.
This is not correct, Madam Chairman.
Just on the amendments.
Adopt the amendments.
Same outcome.
No, that'd be easy.
Yeah, you need to go back one, clear and return. Okay, now go back to it. Edit. Mhm. And let's see. Yeah, it's not there. Yeah, select the motion. Just look for amendment, hit A. Go down, down. Where'd it go? No, just change that. Just change that. There you go. Just, no, in this box where it says attendance, change it.
Technical difficulties. All right, for the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please cast your vote or opposed. I'm not coming up. Can we do a voice vote? All right, we're going to do this by a voice vote.
Delegate Robinson.
Aye.
Delegate Fowler.
Aye.
Delegate Orrock. Aye. Delegate Ware. Aye. Delegate Byron. Aye. Delegate Freitas. Delegate McNamara.
Aye.
Delegate Campbell.
Aye.
Delegate Walker. Aye. Delegate Runyon. Aye. Delegate Wiley.
Aye.
Delegate Durant. Aye. Delegate Watts.
Nay.
Delegate King.
No.
Delegate Sullivan.
Nay.
Delegate Murphy. No. Delegate Hudson.
Nay.
Delegate Willett. No. Delegate Scott. Delegate Munden King.
No.
Delegate Simon.
No.
Delegate Bennett Parker.
Nay.
Madam Chair.
All right, the amendment's passed on a 12 to 10 vote. Delegate Durant. Does anyone here have questions on the committee for Delegate Durant? Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Delegate, as Delegate Byron mentioned, there has been a lot of media and other discussion in the run-up to today. And I suspect you, like I, have heard from a lot of constituents about this issue. I've heard a lot of concern about the governor's comments that he can't guarantee that this will actually benefit Virginians. I heard a lot of concern about the transportation money that it's going to take out of the system. And I've also heard folks wanting to believe the governor that he's trying to help Virginians, and you talked this morning about helping Virginia families. But the data is pretty clear, at least that which I've seen, that a lot of non-Virginians are going to benefit from this gas tax holiday. A lot of outer-staters. In fact, I've seen some data talking about as much as 25% of the gas sold in Virginia goes to people from out of state. So my question to you, Delegate, is aren't you and the governor concerned that this proposal benefits non-Virginians who are going to get to use our roads for free, that it benefits non-Virginians as much, maybe even in some sense more than Virginia families?
Madam Chairman, Delegate, we appreciate the question and especially of the concern. I think the main focus for this administration and the purpose for this bill is to offer much-needed tax relief for Virginia families, and that has been the focus and the target. In terms of your expressing the concern about maintenance and targeting construction for our roads here in Virginia, is that the Commonwealth Transportation Fund has currently realizing revenue well above the forecast and has $671 million in unanticipated revenue for fiscal year 22 and $457.6 million unanticipated revenue for fiscal 23. That's over $1.12 billion that we have. So with this gas tax holiday, we can afford it because this will reduce those revenues by $437 million, and we still have overall transportation revenue dramatically increased for this year.
Brief follow-up, Madam Chair.
Delegate Sullivan.
Delegate Durant, did you or the governor and his team consider any kind of proposal or guardrails or way in which to ensure this gas tax holiday would only benefit Virginians and not people coming into our state using our roads and buying our gasoline or the gasoline at our stations? Did you consider such a proposal?
Mr. Secretary.
Delegate, the gas tax is obviously across the board, and whoever buys the gas pays the tax. So we didn't consider there's no mechanism within this framework to exclude motorists from other states. We can't do that. So whoever buys the gas pays the tax, and whoever gets the rebate or gets the difference gets the difference. So no, within this framework, there's no way to do that, sir.
Did you consider any further question, Madam Chair? Thank you. Did the administration, Mr. Secretary, consider any other mechanism that might have accomplished limiting the benefits of this proposal just to Virginians?
I couldn't speak to anything specifically, sir, but I can assure you that we looked wide and far in terms of tax release for Virginian families. and this is the one that was selected.
Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question, too, has to do in a way with timing. The timing of Delegate Sullivan's question was, we're really loading it to out-of-staters during the peak travel season that this covers in May, June, July, and then into August and September. But my question of timing is also very much about whether or not this tax relief is going to get passed on. I mean, the governor said there was no guarantee. And I wanted to make sure that the patron was aware that the gas tax is collected when the tanker truck fills up. And there's no guarantee at all that when I fill up my tank, that if there's no gas tax charged, that I'm going to benefit from this. And that's why we see in state after state over decades that it doesn't get passed on. How are we going to deal with this? I mean, Maryland is not showing good record at all most currently. How do we deal with how much goes to profit taking?
Madam Chair.
Delegate
Thank
Durant.
you, Delegate, for your comments. Actually, what we have seen in the states that have passed a gas tax holiday, including Connecticut, Maryland, and Georgia, is they have actually seen real relief. And so, again, this goes back to Virginia families bringing relief to them now to offset the pain at the pump for them. So while we understand the concerns about how this benefits out-of-staters, our main focus is, again, for Virginia families and be able to bring them much-needed relief.
Delegate Hudson.
Brief chair follow-up.
Delegate Watts.
My brief follow-up is, yes, I am very, very concerned about Virginia families too, but I don't see why I should be giving money for profit-taking, because we've seen it in state after state that only a third or a half of it is all just disappears, and it doesn't go to the Virginians that we care about, besides the fact that it's going out of state. I just don't see why the thought process is to give some money to Virginia families. We're giving a lot of surplus over to profit-taking and out-of-staters.
Delegate Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron?
Yes, Delegate.
Thank you, Delegate Durant. You suggested in your answer to Delegate Sullivan that the Commonwealth has more than enough transportation funding to go around. When I hear from Virginians, I hear them tell me that they think our transportation infrastructure is inadequate or even behind, that the roads are too crowded, their commutes are too long, the buses are infrequent and unreliable. We have nothing approaching modern commuter trains. So my question for you is, which of the projects in the Stafford region where you serve do you think we can afford to delay or defer much-needed investments?
Thank you, Delegate. This bill does not target or affect any existing projects at all. This is in relation to the surplus that we have. So every existing project that we have is not going to be cut or delayed. The surplus actually still is intact. It's reduced by $437 million, but we still have, again, that $1.129 billion surplus. So there's a significant surplus that will still remain in the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, which is a reflection of my comments that this is something that we can, again, target the transportation needs in the Commonwealth, as well as bring much needed relief to taxpayers.
Delegate McNamara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would it not be also true, I'm thinking of Virginians, I'm as concerned about Virginians as everyone else, but would it not be true that when non-Virginians come through Virginia and we have a lower gas price than surrounding states, are more likely to stop and buy gas in Virginia, which I think is great, because then they can go buy a hot dog from the Virginia hot dog man, and they can go buy a stuffed animal from the convenience store, and they can buy ice cream if they happen to have ice cream at that gas station, or maybe the ice cream store next door. So, and all these things are helping Virginians both from a revenue perspective as well as a taxing perspective. So I think it'd be absolutely great if people from all over the state stop during the tax holiday and buy their gas in Virginia when it's cheaper than other places for a change.
Delegate Willett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for the
Delegate.
patron. Thank you. No, I want to thank the delegate. I think obviously we have questions about this proposal, but I think we all share an appreciation for the need to do something. So I think there's a unanimous consent on that. I think the question is more how we do it. And I do not profess to be an expert on gas tax numbers, but there are several studies out there that we're seeing analysis in the media, and all of those are saying, really questioning the same thing, and that is this the most cost-effective way to get relief to folks? To Virginians, exactly. The estimates I'm seeing range from 25 cents to 30 cents per day. That's like $40 back in someone's pocket as a part of this bill. Is that, in your opinion, the best way to get relief, the most cost-effective way to get relief to Virginians?
Madam Chair, thank you, Delegate. I think going back to, again, the basis of the intent of this bill is to bring much-needed relief. There's certainly a myriad of ways that we can hash out how we're going to bring relief. We certainly, the administration has proposed many tax proposals to bring relief, and if you compound those together, that could combined bring real relief to Virginia families. And so I think this is one part of that the administration is working to bring for Virginia families. It's certainly something that is a priority. When we talk about the pain at the pump for Virginia families, that can mean the difference between, making sure they get to work and then maybe not being able to buy, something else that's essential. So this is something we need to do for Virginia families right now.
Delegate Byron.
Madam Chair, just speaking to one of the things that was brought forward, I want to thank, first of all, the patron for carrying this bill, the governor for sending it down. We're hearing so much talk about outside the state. What difference does that really make? You get the same benefit when you drive out of the state and get gas cheaper somewhere else when you're traveling. But the people that are in Virginia that are going to work every day, that are going to the doctor's office, that are taking their children to school every morning, buying their groceries that have tripled in price, and everything else that has been hit by inflation, are trying to keep their vehicles running at the expense of other things. So I do believe this gets immediately into the pockets of Virginians because there's less going out when they go to put that much needed gasoline in their vehicle so that they can do the essential things that they have to do. And if you don't believe that it doesn't hurt them, maybe you ought to go stay by a gas station all day and see how great everyone feels when they're putting $80 to $100 worth of gasoline in their vehicles. So I thank you for bringing the bill forward.
Delegate Munden King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron.
Delegate Munden King.
Thank you. Delegate Durant, you and I share an area. We both represent Stafford County. And since 2017, Washington area drivers have had the somewhat dubious distinction of being the worst traffic hotspot in the country, including the stretch that we share along I-95. And my understanding is that the purpose of the Transportation Fund is to help with that, the maintenance, with the projects. And is there anyone from VDOT here? Okay. And so my question for you or for the secretary is, how does this help those in Stafford County who are driving over potholes and spending, I believe is 23 traffic jams per day? How does this help us or impact us, those of us who are not just looking at the next 3 months, but we're looking at the future of transportation in our area? And I'm a simple person. When there is a surplus at my house, we use it to pay the bills and to pay for the things that we've planned. So how does this help us versus paying for those transportation items?
Delegate, let me see if I can answer that properly. You know that we're working on a lot of things in your area right now.
Yes, sir.
FredEx is underway, lots of other projects. As the delegate said, there's nothing in this bill that will affect anything that's in our plan at this point, right? So these are out-year monies that we would program somewhere. As we indicated to you earlier, it's about 3% impact. So 3% is 3%, but it's a relatively small impact. And we have goals and requirements that we take care of the roads in your district and all the districts at a certain level. We intend to meet those, and our budget will allow us to meet those. Now, transportation is one of those interesting things. We can spend as much money as anybody can give us, right? The question is, how much is enough? When does the responsibility of the taxpayer sort of obviate us continuing to spend their money? And we think we're in a critical time right now. Families are hurting. It is summertime. Gas rates typically go up in the summertime, so we expect them to rise, gas prices. Inflation is across the board, and so people are struggling. And I think this is just a way to try to give some people some ease from that pain. And frankly, 5 or 6 or 7 years from now is as important, but they're in pain right now. And so these proposals all go together to try to ease that pain on our citizens. And that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Delegate Munson-King.
Thank you. Delegate Durant, I want to just share briefly from your constituent, Daniel, who reached out to me because he could not get registered in the system yesterday. For some reason, many folks were told that they were not able, but they could provide written testimony. And he says, I'm a resident of Stafford County. I would like to register my opposition to Delegate Durant's proposed bill for the following reasons. There are no measures in the bill that force private companies to pass a tax relief on to customers. If I were a company, what would prohibit me from simply keeping the pocket as extra money? Without a forcing mechanism for the companies, this tax relief will not have the intended effect of lowering gas prices. He goes on to say, there are no measures to backfill the deficit in road maintenance funds that this tax relief would generate. Simply put, postponing fixing problems makes them cost more. For
Delegate
road
Munson-King.
maintenance,
I think we got the messages.
okay, let me just finish Daniel's thought since he is the delegate's constituent. And just says, I believe that this gas tax relief bill is a gimmick that will not lower gas prices. However, it will cost Stafford County much needed roadway maintenance and improvement funds that may result in higher costs.
Thank you, Delegate
Madam
Munson-King.
Chair.
Okay, that was the first opponent, I guess, to the bill and testimony of the first opponent to the bill. So I'm going to move to
Madam Chair.
To opponents that want to
Madam
come
Chair.
forward. Delegate Munson-King.
One quick. I just heard your note. I don't know if that was in jest or not, but I would certainly not want to take time away from the citizens who have come here and logged in online.
Thank you, Delegate Munson-King.
So if that's
I
the case,
appreciate that.
please rectify that. Thank you.
All right, we got 10 minutes for people who are opposed to the bill. You please come forward. Please be cognizant of the people behind you and others who may want to speak against the bill.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jason Stanford. I'm the president of the Northern Virginia Transportation Alliance. I'm here today as a member of Virginians for Better Transportation, a broad, unprecedented coalition of nearly 60 business, trade, community, environment, and union organizations from all across Virginia, as well as local communities who support adequate, sustainable transportation funding. We are here to share our concerns about the proposed suspension of Virginia's gasoline tax and the 2% indexing cap. We have different members here today who can speak to each aspect of this issue, such as the experience of other states that have enacted these suspensions, the limited benefit to Virginia residents of such a policy, the current perils of inflation in the construction industry, the struggles of transit agencies across the state due to low ridership and revenue shortfalls, the importance of transportation investment to Virginia businesses, and the overall impact to Virginia's long-term transportation funding sustainability. When combined with nearly $800 million in lost revenue from eliminating the grocery tax, the gas tax suspension, a $400+ million impact, and the 2% cap, a potential $500+ million impact, will result in a disastrous loss of more than $1.7 billion in transportation funding over the next 6 years, with an even greater long-term impact due to the permanent nature of the grocery tax repeal and the CPI cap. This loss of revenue will have a real-world impact across all modes of transportation, including roadways, transit, rail, bike, pedestrian, ports, airports, and transportation technology infrastructure. And when we weigh the limited benefits of less than 50 cents a day for the average driver, that assumes 100% of the savings are passed along to customers, by the way, something that even the governor has admitted we cannot guarantee. This long-term cost of this proposal is clearly outweighed, clearly outweighs the benefits. We urge you to see the value of transportation investments, protect this critical funding, and focus on other tax proposals that will provide needed relief to Virginia residents without doing long-term harm to our transportation system. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Robinson and members of the committee. My name is Amanda Sawyer. I'm from Hampton Roads, and I'm here today to oppose the proposed 3-month elimination of Virginia's gas tax, which is projected to cost $437 million. My current role is Amalgamated Transit Union International Vice President, but I've been a transit worker at Hampton Roads Transit since 1999. Over the years, I have witnessed the incredible and positive impact of crucial transportation funding for the construction, maintenance, and safety of bridges, roads, and sidewalks. This funding also supports public transit, a vital service that Virginians need now more than ever. Without the funding that public transit services receive from gas tax revenues, we face operating shortfalls that will force tough decisions, including reduced routes and transit services. Investments in new, cleaner buses that improve local air quality will likely be suspended. And this reduction in state money would greatly decrease the amount of state and local funding available to meet local match requirements for federal funding. This will significantly undermine our ability to achieve federal funding for critical large-scale transportation projects that not only benefit the region, but support the economy of our entire Commonwealth. There's a lot about this gas tax holiday that we don't know. We don't know if the 3-month suspension of the gas tax will actually lower the gas prices. We don't know if oil companies will pass the savings that they will receive from the gas tax cut along to our consumers. And we don't know how public transit providers will be able to find funding to make up for the millions of dollars in lost revenue. Hampton Roads Transit stands to lose $11.5 million, according to Virginia Transit Association's estimation. But we do know that those who lack access to a car and rely on Hampton Roads Transit, GRTC, OmniRide, Blacksburg Transit, Valley Metro, Fredericksburg Regional Transit, and other public transit agencies that ATU represent, and paratransit services will end up with diminished mobility, less access to services, and less certainty for a ride to work and school. Thank you.
5 minutes remaining.
Madam Chair, Gordon Dixon with the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance. 2 things real quick. Over the past 9 years, 34 states have introduced a gas tax increase up or down 177 times. Of those 177 times, the gas tax actually does not adjust or does not change more than 18% for the revenue, one way or the other. So it actually does not impact your residents at the pump one way or the other. The price, as you know, is taken at the terminal. Secondly, of the states that are looking at proposing the gas tax cut, Virginia is one of the few states that is choosing not to backfill. Georgia, Florida, Maryland have all backfilled their proposals. Thank you.
Afternoon. My name is Ryan Terry. I'm the Director of Construction at Branscombe Incorporated. We're headquartered in Williamsburg, Virginia. We have 450 employees and we've been in business for over 60 years. I have 2 key points to make this afternoon. Construction costs are escalating at an alarming rate. Contractors and subcontractors cannot continue to shoulder the current risk of inflation and extreme cost escalation on multi-year contracts at current VDOT budgets and expect to stay in business. Contractors put a cost estimate in at the time of bid on a multi-year contract based on anticipated prices. Current contracts were submitted in 2020 and 2021 using a standard CPI of about 3%. Now firms are faced with much higher increases. I'd like to highlight a few of those. 78% increase on stainless steel, 50% on average iron and steel. PVC conduit, 74%, asphalt, 36%. While VDOT is aware of current price escalations, future price increases are going to exceed current VDOT project estimates, and that will force VDOT to reduce the number of project releases and put pressure on contractors to reduce their prices and deny requests for escalation relief on existing contracts. The second point, to further exacerbate the construction costs, is the proposed bill permanently reduces the annual inflation adjustment down 50%. This annual CPI adjustment was designed for the very situation we are describing to mitigate cost escalation on VDOT projects. If this bill goes forward, VDOT's funding will fall further and further behind. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Clayton Medford with the Northern Virginia Chamber of Commerce here opposed to the bill. While our members do understand the reasoning behind it, we don't believe that attempting to relieve what should be short-term pain at the pump with threatening with long-term pain of reduction in transportation revenue is the right course of action. Our members have always made education and transportation our top priorities for business advocacy. We believe that we need adequate funding for both of those, and you all know very well how challenging it can be to establish dedicated sources of revenue. You also know very well that any so-called fully funded plan only funds what's in the plan, not the need that is on the ground and in the streets, in this case, literally. So therefore, we ask you to oppose the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Danny Plugger with Virginians for High-Speed Rail and the Virginia Transit Association. We oppose this bill. We have tremendous concerns about the increasing costs of materials, as mentioned by Gordon, as well as what it means for delaying projects vital to transit and rail. Thank you.
Hi, this is Blair Williamson. I have an asphalt paving company in Charlottesville, Virginia. We've been in business over 70 years. As far as I know, there are no excess funds at VDOT. I work in the Culpeper and Lynchburg districts. Our funds have been cut by maintenance dollars have been cut by 70% since 2020, and there's no funding, and we all know prices are escalating in labor. What we need to do is put more and more money into transportation and get people to work. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Phil Abraham, representing the Old Dominion Highway Contractors, the Virginia Association for Commercial Real Estate, and its 3 member chapters in Richmond, Hampton Roads, and Northern Virginia. They're very concerned about the magnitude of the funding loss that would result if this bill were approved. As has been mentioned, it alone will result, this tax suspension alone will result in a loss of $471 million. You've heard this is a minimal loss, that funding is expected to exceed projections. But please keep in mind that this loss would occur as we begin the very first year, what will be only 5 paid-for years of increased federal transportation revenues in Virginia. VDOT reported to the CTB last March that Virginia will receive $391 million of additional federal funds in FY 2023. That's $80 million less than will be lost by just the fuels tax suspension alone. It's 23.5% of the total additional federal funding that will be achieved by Virginia under the federal infrastructure bill. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of the 10 minutes. There were 2 people that were online but have now dropped off. If you want to just step up, tell who you represent and that where you stand on the bill, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, member of the committee. Trip Pollard with the Southern Environmental Law Center. I think you've heard a lot of great points. I won't reiterate them, but I will point out the breadth of this coalition and include some pretty strange bedfellows.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Wadico with the Commonwealth Institute. We oppose the bill. We believe there are more direct ways of helping families with economic relief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Kenneth Gilliam, Policy Director, New Virginia Majority, and we oppose this legislation. And so quickly to your question, Delegate Sullivan, is there a way to ensure that relief is directed to Virginians. Though that is not addressed in this legislation, there is still a proposal
Thank
that
you.
is being considered by the General Assembly, which is to make Virginia's earned income tax credit fully refundable.
So now would the proponents of the bill please come forward to speak to the bill? And again, we'll start your 10 minutes when the first speaker starts, and so be as brief as you can. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Virginia General Assembly Finance Committee. Milan Chuan is my name. I represent Asian American businesses throughout the state, Northern Virginia to the Hampton Roads. I come here in the perspective of the voice of the small Asian American businesses, very small size. We applaud the governor's leadership in proposing an immediate relief for the Asian American businesses. Inflation, minimum wages, supply chain, problem that we need immediate now. Our board of the directors want to bring this point to you. We appreciate the bill because it provides an immediate relief. I heard about different perspective, transportation funds, what if people come through here, those are big pictures, and of course, the future of gas price, we cannot control, but the governors have the vision to bring immediate relief, and we are here to support the governor, just like other governors in the past. If it is right, we support them. Thank you.
Madam Chair, committee members, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Loretta Green. I am from Fairfax County. I'm a mother of 3, carpool mom, working mom, taxpayer, and I'm also a former associate administrator of the Small Business Administration. I am here in support of Bill 6001, the tax relief legislation sponsored by Governor Youngkin. Virginia families need relief. I am the data point that needs relief. I am here to hopefully represent the carpool moms who, when they go to the gas stations, it is just it is doubled, and now they have to make different decisions on how are they going to use the family's budget. If small businesses, truckers, and others get added relief, that is good too. Thank you. Thank God we have Governor Youngkin, who is doing all he can to help working families in our Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Holmes, and I just wanted to thank you all for being here and thank you for what you do. You're my brothers and sisters in Christ, and I love you all. I hope you pray to God for each decision that you make before you make it, and then make the correct decision. With that said, there was a good question. What determines if the price is going to be passed on to the consumer? Well, capitalism is the answer. Because if that gas station across the street lowers his price because he's been given the opportunity to lower his price, then people are going to buy gas from him. So that makes his opponent lower his price. That's just common sense. People out of state coming in and buying the gas. If you sell 100 gallons and you make $400, if you sell 200 gallons, you make $800. So what difference does it make if someone comes from out of state or not? You get more revenue. So I don't understand that. The secretary said that no projects would be affected. He knows better than anyone else. Any existing projects are still going to be unaffected. My wife drives a Volkswagen CC. It gets 33 miles to a gallon. I filled up yesterday, took my daughter back to Shenandoah, $67. My car holds 20 gallons. That's $87. We're making choices at the grocery store where we can't afford to get groceries. I don't care about the roads, actually, even though he said it didn't affect projects. I don't care about the roads. I care about eating. If gas prices stay high, I can't eat. I'm not going to get out and get into traffic and get stuck in a traffic jam because I can't afford to drive. I can't afford to drive to work every day. I'm not the only one. There are many like me, and I'm not going to take up a lot of time because these people want to speak too. But this is something that's just common sense to me, and it shouldn't be party related. I see this side voting this way and this side voting that way. I've just answered all of your questions. Why would you vote against this? Why would you take money out of my family's mouth? Why would you take money out of their family's mouth? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Courtney Whitney. Since serving in Iraq, my family's been blessed. 2 sons have graduated from UVA and JMU, where education has enabled them to be self-sufficient.
5 minutes remain.
At the same time, my military pension and Social Security lag a year in adjustment, so inflation, especially the price of gas, are an immediate challenge. Additionally, the value of my home has increased 20%, therefore my property taxes are up 20%. Without being selfish, so long as our budget surplus allows for investment in education and, as we've heard, roads and law enforcement, any tax relief in grocery taxes, gas, or military retirement pay has an immediate impact. With inflation, something has to give in spending. So there we have it. I'd rather spend the money than have the government spend the money. Amen.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cam Modecki from Henrico County. I live in Delegate Willits District. I'm here to speak on support. Just want to make 2 quick points. Number one, I heard some of the opponents speak to, it's only this amount of money, only 50 cents a day. Well, think about a family of 5 where you have 2 adults, both of whom drive. It's $1 a day, $30 a month. It's about almost $360 a year, we'll call it, almost $400 a year. I realize in some of y'all's districts that may not be a ton of money, but for many of our fellow Virginians, that's a great deal of money. So I would keep that in mind. The other thing I would address, kind of the out-of-state piece, and I'll speak to your district, Delegate Sullivan, as I grew up there. I'm a graduate of Arlington County Public Schools, Yorktown High School. Folks come across, let's say they come across from D.C. or Maryland, and they go over to, I don't know, Lee Highway and Glebe Road there in Arlington. So they get gas, and maybe they go to the Metro 29 diner for a great meal, right? Or the Starbucks there, or Crisp and Juicy, another small business. And they patronize those businesses. So it adds sales tax and revenue to us as well. So there's a ripple effect. And I will concur with Chris Holmes' comments about kind of the lack of bipartisanship. I'll quote Senator Kennedy, who said, I believe, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I'm sure there are other solutions out there, but this is immediate and important. So let's get this done for Virginians. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alberto Calimano. I come from Northern Virginia. I took time off to be here. Drove almost 2 hours to come here. I'm a defense consulting contractor, and my wife is a beautiful housewife, 4 kids, and it does affect my pocket. So I support the governor, I support this bill, and honestly, I come from Manassas, Prince William County, and I see families, Hispanic families. I'm Hispanic, my wife, and I see people getting affected. Their meals, like the gentleman just talked just now, it's affecting everyday life. So it's like, I don't care about the roads. I like the roads how they are right now. We need a relief in our pockets. So we need to be able to spend money for our kids. I have 4 kids, and I already have one 2 months ago. I plan to have more. So please, let me live a good life.
Madam Chair, my name is Ruse. I'm here as a citizen of Virginia. Small story. My 90-year-old mother lives with me. The other day, the caretaker called and said, she's not coming. Handle it on your own, Ruse. And I said, why? And she said, the cost of the commute simply doesn't make sense. We all agree that, the Biden policies are driving up the price of gas. It's sky high, I understand. Virginians are suffering. Small businesses are suffering. You know it, I know it. According to NFIB, 26% of small businesses are hurting. We need to buy gas, and we need to run our small businesses. When these fuel prices goes up, ultimately the Virginia consumer has to pay more for goods and services. Now, I have family members that own lots of gas stations and C-stores, and you know what? The fuel revenue is down. They report to me that people, when they come to fill gas, they don't even enter the C-store to pick up the gum or pick up a packet of chips or Kit Kat. They believe that when this gas tax is eliminated, they believe it will trickle down. They believe it will trickle down to the pump, and the pumps will reduce their prices. It's common economics. The consumers will benefit. And as a citizen of Virginia, I'm calling on the legislature, I'm imploring with you to support Governor Youngkin's pragmatic legislation to reduce costs for small businesses and every Virginian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a motion. I move that we refer the bill to the House Committee on Appropriations.
Speaking to the motion.
Delegate Watts?
Speaking to the motion, first of all, a parliamentary inquiry. Based on that motion, is it still parliamentarily appropriate to provide a substitute before we move and refer?
Yes, Delegate Watts?
I would like to make a substitute motion. Or I would like to move the substitute that you have before you, which LIS number ending in 8092D.
Madam Chairman, point of order.
Delegate Oron.
To the previous question, a substitute motion on the underlying bill would be proper. However, at this juncture, to propose a different version of the bill would not be proper.
Madam Chairman, speaking to the motion to refer.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Delegate Simon.
So, Madam Chair and Delegate Orak, an amendment is a superior motion. The motion to report is the lowest of priority of all motions. And so a substitute motion to move an amendment in the nature of a substitute or a line amendment, if you look at the rules, is in fact superior and would have to be dealt with prior to a motion to report. Motion to report, or a report and refer in this case, is the lowest priority of all the motions. And so I think you have to entertain a motion on the amendment. You can vote it down, but you have to let us present it. You have to let us speak to it, and then you have to vote on it before you move on to report. Reporting is the final and lowest priority of all motions.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Ware.
Madam Chair, I withdraw my motion to refer.
Delegate Watts.
Thank you very much for recognizing me. I would move that the substitute that is before you with an LIS number ending in 80902, I would like to move that substitute for the bill before us and at the proper time speak to the motion.
Delegate Watts.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, second. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Hearing the testimony, particularly those in opposition, I would like to draw the attention of the entire audience as well as the committee in the motion, the substitute that is before you. If you would turn first to the enactment clause, which is a replacement for the 6001 as introduced. Let me just point out the differences because I am very concerned about the lack of focus on what 6001 as introduced actually does. I heard again and again the word immediate. Notice then, and I did have copies of this for those who would like to pick them up, and I know each committee member has one before you. At the left side of this chart is 6001. It starts May 1st, but it spreads out May, June, July. The numbers, the bills that, dollar bills that are before you represent the benefit that 6001 as introduced will give the average motorist in those months. When I say average, I used two numbers. Nationwide, the average motorist drives 1,000 miles a month. Now, I thought that was a pretty good number for Virginia, since I couldn't get a Virginia number. Why? Because it's covering all motorists in the 50 states, all of the flyover, large, long drives that must be done daily. And certainly that is representative of the diversity that we have within Virginia. However, the miles per gallon used noted at the bottom of the page, 23.7 miles per gallon, is a Virginia average. So if you take those two numbers and you have your tax holiday is 26.2 cents a gallon, even if it was all passed on, the maximum for the average family is just $11 a month. I know that we're all hurting in many, many ways because of inflation, but the $11 a month won't feed anyone at McDonald's. I know that, having just driven up to the window on the way down. So that the other thing that is important about this bill, so we are starting, as you see on line 59 of the substitute before you, starts on May 1st. It says no later than June 1, so during the month of May, every registered vehicle that qualifies for car tax relief, that means personal vehicles, and that's on line 61, would receive $50 up to 2 cars per household, which would be $100. Notice on line 64, active registrations. I've been working with DMV. This is, in fact, very doable. The onus is on the car owner. If you've got a current license plate, DMV's got your address, and during the month of May, no later than June 1st, that's the immediate relief that the substitute before you is speaking to, as opposed to, again, month after month, average $11, if it's all passed on. And I do want to explain that the grayed out dollars are in graphic representation of the experience in state after state after state in not passing it on. And it will be particularly probable in Virginia because there will be 4 different changes in the tax rate. And the tanker will have filled up in April for gas that's going to get pumped in May. Who's going to pay for the taxes that he paid in April when now we're supposed to not have any taxes at the pump? It doesn't work. It's just not a practical way of going forward. So that then, based on the facts of $11 a month, giving you the benefit of how this is generated. This isn't off the top. $1,000 miles a month per car, 2 cars to a household, is a reasonable average to be giving you real numbers of no more than $11 a month. One other element that I will point out in the substitute, it contains in 2 different sections, rather than an absolute cap on 2%, it instead deals with the fact of, and I'm sorry that the secretary had to leave, and I'm going to digress and to say, way back in the day when I became secretary, it was drinking out of a fire hose. So a secretary who's only a couple of months in his position may, even if he was on the CTB board, may not be aware of the fact that DMV just posted, as they do every month, the allowance under contracts, including contracts that have adjustment clauses. The cost of asphalt will be $745 per short ton. Why do I bring that out? Because the issue that we're dealing with in the amendments that I had just pointed out is that just as we have a escalation as far as revenue because of gas prices that we could not responsibly anticipate when those projections were made a year ago, we also, as a petroleum product, have a major increase in the cost of asphalt, which is the essential component of the work that we've got to do for the people of Virginia. I say for the people of Virginia because another fact that I think has really gotten lost in this debate, in this discussion, is that by law, 53% of the gasoline tax revenue goes to maintenance. Filling the potholes, making sure that you can move the snow, making sure of safety rails. That 53% is not something that is backfilled at all with federal dollars, but it's also where every single working family is touched the moment they get out of their driveway as to the condition of our roads. So it's not just new construction, not just transit, not just port improvements. All of these things, by the way, designated under our law that the gas tax funds. Therefore, the amendment before you says, okay, we'll cap the amount of inflation, but we will move it forward so that it's not lost now and forevermore, and we dig ourselves into the rut that we were in for several decades in not having adequate funding on a fixed price per gallon. Madam Chairman, thank you for letting me walk through what I regard are important facts that we must deal with.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to make a couple of observations. I didn't bring any charts or graphs with me, so you'll apologize for that. I'll apologize for that. But I would note that both the House and Senate budgets provide funding for taxpayer relief checks. The Senate budget assumes $250 for individuals and $500 for married persons filing jointly. The House budget, by contrast, provides $300 for individuals and $600 for married persons filing jointly. We could simply fold in the principal portion of this into the discussion. In fact, you could just talk to our friends, your friends down the hall, and do exactly what you're proposing with this advantage, that it would require checks sent to millions of Virginians from one agency only and not two. For that reason, Madam Chair, I will not be supporting this proposal.
Thank you, Delegate Ware. Delegate Orrock.
Madam Chairman, I move the pending question.
All right. All those in favor of pending question, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. E2. This is a voice vote? Okay. All those in favor of the pending question, say aye. And all opposed? No.
No, this is on the amendment.
On the amendment, on the substitute. So I want to do that again? Okay, let's do it again. So this is on the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. The vote is no. Okay, we're going to do a roll call on the substitute.
Delegate Robinson?
No.
Delegate Fowler?
No.
Delegate Orrock?
No.
Delegate Ware? Delegate Byron? Delegate Freitas?
No.
Delegate McNamara?
No.
Delegate Campbell?
No.
Delegate Walker? No. Delegate Runyon? No. Delegate Wiley? No. Delegate Durant? No. Delegate Watts?
Aye.
Delegate Keane? Aye. Delegate Sullivan?
Yes.
Delegate Murphy? Yes. Delegate Hudson? Delegate Willett? Yes. Delegate Scott? Aye. Delegate Munden King?
Yes.
Delegate Simon?
Yes for money in people's pockets.
Delegate Bennett Parker?
Yes.
Madam Chair, we have 12 nays and 10 yeas.
All right. So this minute, that substitute. Delegate Durant, do you have any anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, woman. I'd just like to emphasize that they were in a very unique point in Virginia with the status of the budget that we are currently negotiating. With this surplus that we have, $14.7 billion, we have a unique opportunity to tackle both real tax relief for Virginia families as well as focus on our infrastructure and the projects that need attention in the Commonwealth. In terms of tackling some of the misconceptions that have been raised during this committee meeting about gutting some of the infrastructure transportation projects, that simply needs to be clarified that, again, this does not affect any existing projects at all. And in terms of some of the comments that have been made that affect certain regions, including my own, I certainly remind those that I have personally fought to return that funding back that was taken away a couple years ago and sent to other regions that directly impact our transportation projects. And when it comes to relief for Virginia families, this is something that, again, needs to happen now. If we were to have an alternative, as been discussed, that would have a negative impact for farming families, for small businesses, and this is relief that we need to bring to Virginia families now. We've heard this in our testimony. Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman.
Delegate Ware.
Madam Chair, I reiterate my motion to refer the bill to appropriations.
Madam Chair.
We've had a motion and a second.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman,
Delegate O'Rourke.
I move the pending question.
Madam Speaking of the motion.
Do we have 2 minutes per side?
No.
Pending question is non-debatable.
Pending question is non-debatable.
Madam Chair, we press for time here. This is an important decision.
I think everybody pretty much knows where they are at this point in time.
Is a parliamentary inquiry appropriate?
Sure.
So, if I get this correct, before there was any comment, there was a move to move the pending question, which means that what you see here is a rush to move something forward with 10 minutes for, 10 minutes against, and then no further discussion. And what you see is people fighting
Madam Chairman, point
because
of order.
we're fighting for our communities.
Delegate
and
O'Rourke.
that voice is being shut down with procedural motions.
Delegate O'Rourke.
Now, Madam Chairman, the motion calling for the pending question simply means that one member is ready for the vote. It then parliamentarily is put to the entire committee, and if a majority of the committee is ready to vote, then we will move forward. But any of those members not ready to vote, simply vote in the negative, and if the majority of the committee aren't ready to vote, then we will have further discussion and debate on the matter.
And Madam Chair, what I have seen is that there
Madam
is
Chairman,
some
point of order.
discussion before
the
moving
delegate
the
is
Delegate
pending
Munden
question.
King, you are not recognized.
Oh, I'm
Delegate
sorry,
O'Rourke
Madam
had
Chair.
the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So where the motion is to move the pending question, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, we're going to do ayes and nays.
Delegate Robinson.
Aye.
Delegate Fowler. Aye. Delegate Orrock. Aye. Delegate Ware. Delegate Byron. Aye. Delegate Freitas.
Aye.
Delegate McNamara.
Aye.
Delegate Campbell. Aye. Delegate Walker. Aye. Delegate Runyon. Aye. Delegate Wiley. Aye. Delegate Durant.
Aye.
Delegate Watts.
Nay.
Delegate King. Delegate Sullivan. Delegate Murphy. Delegate Hudson. Delegate Willett. Delegate Scott. Delegate Munden King.
Absolutely not.
Delegate Simon.
No.
Delegate Bennett Parker.
No.
12 yeas, 10 nays.
All right. The motion that we have before us is to refer to appropriations. That is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. The bill will be referred to appropriations. That concludes our business today. Thank you for all the members for attending and for the discussion, and all the folks in the audience who participated, both pro and against the bill. And that, I call this meeting to close.